This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
PBS Kids morning host, Mr. Steve, on this edition of Conversations. What will a charming smile, a guitar, and some witty songs get you? Well, in the case of Mr. Steve, a lot of fans. Steve Roslonek, also known as Mr. Steve, is one of the PBS Kids morning hosts. His fan base runs the spectrum, from preschoolers to grandmas. Mr. Steve's engaging personality and clever songs make mornings shine a little brighter. Here's a look.
Music time with Steve songs. We can be anything, anything we want to be. We can be anything at all. Sing it with me. We can be anything, anything we want to be. We can be anything at all. We can be fearless firefighters, or farmers working on the land, teachers, painters, writers, or musicians in a brand new band. Want to be in the band with me? Let's play the drums. Cool. How about electric guitar? Nice. We can be anything, anything we want to be. We can be anything at all. We can be anything at all. We can be anything, anything we want to be. We can be anything at all. Woohoo.
We welcome Steve Roslonek, better known as Mr. Steve, to Conversations. Looks like you're having a little bit of fun.
Every once in a while, it is fun. My job is so much fun.
You got to quit holding back so much.
I know. There's all that energy. Yeah.
Hey, thanks. Welcome to Florida.
Thank you very much for having me, Jeff.
How did you get it? How did you get this gig? How did this come about?
Interestingly enough, I auditioned for a host and did not get the job. And then a year and a half later, got another opportunity to go meet with executives down in PBS. They were looking for a music. First, they were looking for a speaking host,
right?
And then they were looking specifically for a music teacher host. I was making some music videos of my own at the time, so I was able to bring those with me. And there were a couple of executives in the office who liked to bring their kids to my shows, so that helped. And I was able to talk to the right people, and actually was in some of the offices doing dances and acting a little energetic, and it worked out well. And you know, at that point, I was talking to the folks that were taking the hosting position in a new direction, talking about philosophies and how my philosophy in terms of teaching, working with kids, was very similar to PBS's.
Neat. What is your philosophy to working with kids?
Well, it has a lot to do with talking to them on their own level, not talking down to them necessarily, expecting that they can do. I'm still amazed, like almost 20 years into doing this job. Along the way, I've been amazed at how much kids can like understand or get, especially musically.
Yeah.
Like at first, I started making music before I had kids of my own, 4 kids, and I was playing with some old band members. And we were making these songs. We had electric guitar, I had distortion. I remember my producer saying, "Can a kid song have a bridge?" I'm like, "I don't know." And that kind of thing seemed to translate well. We were writing grown-up music with kid content, and then we continued to kind of push the envelope on the things that we did, and kids came along for the ride.
Did I read somewhere that your first sort of introduction to playing for kids was with your kid brother? Was that in his classroom or something?
Yes, my brother was first grade teacher, and I was writing songs as a hobby, right. And he said, "Well, can you write some songs for my first grade class, days of the week or seasons?" And I was
right.
like, "I don't know." So I started to do that, and there were some of the best songs that I had written. I think we were talking earlier about when you're, as a young songwriter, trying to write a love song or or just a song and like stream of consciousness comes out of you and you're like, oh, this kind of sounds good. That's why I'm going to put this word in the song. Right. But until I had like a message or a reason to write a song, or oh, I need to teach the days of the week, it helped me so much as a songwriter to understand, oh, I have something to say, and then I just have to figure out how to say it. Yeah.
What's your process? I've had the opportunity to interview a lot of songwriters, and my daughter, who is still in high school, but you know, I'm a little partial, but I think she's a wonderful songwriter and she's a musician. But what is your process when you get ready to write a song? What is your process? Is it very businesslike? I'm going to sit down and write songs today, or does it just come to you?
Well, yes, and no. Not necessarily the same every time. It's different. Sometimes I get assignments. I get commissioned to write a song. In those cases, it is more business-like, especially at the beginning. The process is finding out what is the message that this organization, is usually a child-centric organization, is trying to convey, or what message do they want to get out there, and then talking about the different phrases or words that they might use. And then it's a brainstorming process, and so in that way, that's similar to the songs that I write, which can come from anywhere, and more often they're just a really strange, wacky idea that I hone in on for like a long period of time.
Yeah. And now you write both the music and the lyrics.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
What's more difficult to do, the music part or the lyrics?
It depends. Sometimes the music just comes right out, and sometimes the lyrics just come right out. I find that some of my best phrases are when they come together.
Okay.
Because in writing for PBS and other organizations, you come out with one version of a song, and when there's a lot of people involved with saying whether they want a song the way that you've put it out there, or they want to change things. Sometimes you need to take a song that you think, oh, it's done, go back and be like, oh, I need different phrases for this same music, and it takes a lot of work to try to figure it out. But it is interesting, and it's a pretty good exercise, because then it makes you realize, oh, it helps you to remember that there's always lots of different options, lots of different ways that you can go.
Right. As a youngster, I'm assuming you probably started playing music fairly early. Is that correct?
I always sang around the house. My mom was always singing her Motown or different songs, but I didn't do an instrument. I remember making a choice. I had to either play soccer or take saxophone. And I was like, I really want to play soccer, so I did that at the time. With songwriting, I remember that it was like 5th grade. I had a buddy, Matt, in art class. We were talking, and he came in. I don't remember what song it was at the time, but he was singing this song. And he's like, I wrote this part of a song, and I was like, well, that's really good. And he's like, I don't have any more to it. And so I went home for the weekend and I wrote like 3 verses to the song, and then put the chorus in there. I came back, I was like, before I came back, I heard that song on the radio. And I was like, oh, because I was thinking, oh, I guess we can write a song. Right, and then I heard it on the radio, I was like, oh, I guess we can write a song. And it really is kind of funny, like how your psychology, and I was like, I loved doing it. Right. But then I thought, oh, no, this is not something that I could do. Yeah. That's one of the reasons I visit a lot of schools, and I love doing assemblies and playing songs for the kids. But one of my favorite things is songwriting workshops, where I work with the kids on writing songs with them and with their classroom. Because I think that, and I'm sure that this doesn't get, this is not a take-home for all the kids, but I hope that there are some kids in each class that are thinking, you know what? I can write a song, why not? So.
Yeah. What makes a good songwriter?
A good songwriter? Yeah. Well, I think it depends. I think for myself, I'm maybe not born a songwriter. I'm born loving to write songs, but for me, it's just been a lot of work. I guess, the 10,000 hour thing. Right. I've definitely put in the 10,000 hours, and I've always loved it, but
the Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, exactly. But I haven't, always written the best songs. In fact, I have all these tapes that I like encapsulated these great ideas that I had, and I listen back and I'm like, oh, that is a terrible idea. It's not even debatable. But over the course of time, at least for me, I think that maybe some people, they just naturally have this ability that they're able to write. They hear songs in their head and it comes out. For me, I just try a lot of stuff until it's something that I really like, and then I pick that thing, and then I keep on. My poor wife, who has to listen to me like around the house. No, that's the one. She's like, oh gosh, I have to hear this over and over again.
Do you write stuff other than children's songs at this stage in your career?
I do, but not a ton. I just did a benefit the other night, and it was the first time in probably 10 years that I played a grown-up concert, and it was really, really fun. I pulled out some songs. I used to play with some friends back in the day. They had a couple different guys, played in bands, and I would open for them. And I'd always write kind of quirky songs that were, I had some fun sing-alongs at the bar and restaurants. And so I brought back some of those, and I was working on a few other ones, and so that was kind of fun. But I don't typically anymore do that, because a lot of the ideas that I have, even though I think that maybe somebody could make them into a decent grown-up song, it just goes to my family audience, and then I think of a way to present it to them. Because really, it's like I was saying before, at this point, it's just trying to write music that I think is the best music for a certain vibe, and then I put words to it that I think would appeal to kids and hopefully their parents as well.
We've got a couple of songs we're going to have you play, and so I'm going to just kind of talk about the title here for a second. I'll get you to explain sort of how it came about and whatnot. So let's start with Gravity. So tell me a little bit about that, and then we'll have you play some of it.
So Gravity is part of. I have a whole bunch of. I love science, and I really like writing songs about science because it's such an interesting. Like if you like doing puzzles, or if you like certain kind of word problems. Writing science songs, excuse me, didactic songs where you have like a concept that you need to like gather the information for, be able to put it together in rhyming phrases, and then spill it back out in a way that might be interesting for kids to listen to and then learn from, I think is an excellent, like, fun challenge. Okay. Yeah.
Well, you want to pick up the guitar and we'll... All
right. Usually when I play this song, I won't make you do this because it might not be fair, but I usually play a game where in this song there's a lot of the word down in it. And so every time I say the word down, the audience needs to touch the ground. Okay. And it sounds really simple, but it's actually, it turns out to be very tricky.
All right, here we go. Mr. Steve and Gravity.
Isaac Newton found gravity. Apple hit him falling from a tree. He said, it seems to me there ought to be a reason for that. Maybe it's not falling down as much as Earth is pulling it towards the ground. You know you saw my frown when the apple smushed my hat. So we're down with gravity, baby, down with gravity, baby, down with gravity, baby, down, 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 down. So we tested that theory with different planets of the galaxy. Found, of course, that the pulling force was directly proportional to the mass. That's true. Larger objects, I looked it up. Larger objects like planets and stars attract smaller ones like people and cars. Pull us in. Could have been floating into space like a gas button tongue. But instead, we're down with gravity, baby, down with gravity, baby, down with gravity, baby, down, 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 down.
Very good. There you go. All right. Do you have a big hit signature song that the kids are like, okay, that's I can't wait for this one?
Well, I must say that I love the fact that I have written a lot of songs at this point, hundreds. And for the released about 8 albums, and for a lot of my songs, there's some kid who says that's my favorite song, and I think I just love that. And I must say that as hard as it is, I write a lot more songs than I record.
Right.
It comes down to me and my producer and parents of friends. I send out a whole bunch of songs. I'm like, is this good enough? Because sometimes you write a song and you think, I think that this is good, but I'm not quite sure. You're so close to it, it's hard. And so I try to, when I make an album of 13 or 18 songs, I want to make sure that every one of those is going to be somebody's favorite. I don't know if that's true. But that being said, there is a song I was going to play for you called "Song Without a Rhyme" on satellite TV, satellite radio. That song was a #1 song on their list for a long, maybe 14 weeks or something like that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Go ahead, have a drink of water. I know he's been performing an awful lot and had been traveling around the country. I know before showing up here, he was playing last night in Connecticut and caught a flight to Florida. So take a drink of water. Take it easy there a little
Rock
bit.
and roll.
That's right. So I know it can put a lot of stress on the voice over time. What is it you think that music, music brings us together? Music makes us happy. What's the deal with that? Why is that? I mean, you be in a bad mood and hear your favorite song. What is it about that makes that happen? You have any idea?
Well, I don't know. I know that it's true, and I'm not exactly sure why. What is it that these vibrations are happening, and it's interesting to think about how I think about when I perform for kids. I always think about connection, even if I'm not thinking about it in my head. That's the way that I imagine a performance. It might be me on stage with other kids, or me on stage with a bunch of kids or families in the audience. And I always think about that connection point right at the stage, like that energy that brings us together in what we're doing in this space, where whether it's a call and response where I'm singing and you sing back. But then there's like this physical, these physical waves that are happening with the vibrations of the music and the sound waves that are physically, touching us, but it's something that moves us in a poetic way, I guess. That is, as listening to Isaacoff. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Gregory Allen Isaacoff on the plane ride in, and I was like, man, this is just awesome. This is like really moving me. I don't know exactly what it is, but I must say that I've experienced it in a bunch of different genres and types of music, whether it's me going to concerts or performing. But I've just started playing in a strings band with my son, who's learning mandolin, and he's got just great energy. He's just very excited to play, and he almost can't stop himself. He learned violin first in a more formal setting where it wasn't really allowed to be moving around so much. You were supposed to stand in a certain way, and you could see that he was just wanting to move around. But we play in the strings band now, and he just moves around. And we play these songs that are really simple, 3 chords, sometimes 2 chords, and it's just so fun. Lost all my money, but a $2 bill. And you sing some harmonies.
What do you, speaking of that, you're talking about your son playing music. What advice would you give to parents as far as getting their children involved in music?
Well, there's some kids. It depends on the child, I think. I mean, well, first of all, I don't think that this depends. Exposing your kids to many different styles of music, I think, is just a great way to go. I mean, I think that I'm not a brain specialist, but I know that when they talk about children and people learning new languages, it helps when you're younger and younger. There's certain patterns that if you don't hear Chinese language, and when you're 1 or 2 or 3, you start to ignore those kind of patterns. But if you hear that, then your brain is kind of makes sense of those patterns. And I think that if you're listening to jazz music or classical music, your brain has a bit easier time understanding those patterns at a younger age. So I think that exposing kids to different types of music when they're young is just a great idea. Trying to find things that your kids like. If you start to play, for my son, actually, he was super into these Minecraft parody songs. And there's some really great recordings of these things. Some of them I was like, oh, I do not like this song, or this is not appropriate, or whatever. But then there's these other songs. I was like, hey, if you listen to that music, you dig it. Like whoever recorded that, like went through a lot, you know,
a lot of trouble.
A lot of trouble to make it sound really good, produce it well. So in terms of, so I think exposing your kids to a lot of music is a great idea. And then as far as learning, you know, there's some kids who just want to be, we played a show earlier this week. I played at a school, and I was doing this song, and I had never tried this before, but I had a kid come up and was singing call and response with me. And I've done that before, but beforehand I said, you know, to a small group at the assembly, is there anybody here who really likes the singing? And I see this girl, her eyes, a second grader, her eyes just lit up like, he just asked me the exact thing that I love to do. Like, yes, that's me. And I was like, okay, can you sing? We'll do a call and response. And then, would you like to try a scat? She's like, yeah. I was like, do you know what a scat is? No. And I'm like, oh, well, so I was explaining what it was. And so it depends. If your child is so into it, then it's just a matter of finding that, you know, the channel that makes the most sense. If they're not as into it, then it takes a little bit more care if you really want to get them into an instrument. I think it's hard to find a balance between, you know, my wife plays great piano, she can read music, but I think that she was forced to play piano. She had to do these lessons, and I know a lot of people who just they just hated doing it because they were forced to do it. You know, with my son, who he really loves to perform, hates to practice. So it's become, instead of saying, well, you have to practice this many hours a week, it's like, you know what, let's try two songs. You know, and that seems to be the thing that works for him, to get him to just play enough so that he, you know, so it's not like, oh, I'm going to sit here for 45 minutes and do this thing, which sometimes when he starts to play a couple songs, then he's like, oh, check this out, Dad, and then it's, you know, he just gets into it.
I suppose, too, matching the kid or the child with the right teacher.
I think that that's exactly right. There's certain kids who like, you know, my daughter and my son have different personalities for sure. I think my daughter, she's going to be starting piano lessons, and we're trying to find someone who's a little bit more structured. With my son, it's the exact opposite. He's very autodidactic, wants to learn on his own, and so he wants to hear, you can do anything you want, and that's how he learns best. But you're exactly right, and I guess that's with teaching a lot of different things, but with music, yeah, because you want them to learn. Right. You want them to realize that, yeah, you got to put in some practice if you want to see this result of being satisfied with it. But at the same time, you don't want them to hate it. You want them to enjoy it.
Embrace it.
And you know, and with the string band, I'm working with the organizer of it, because we have some parents, some kids, trying to find a way that the kids can feel comfortable, find that it's fun, where it's not too much work, but it's still some work so that they have the satisfaction of, you know, and some of that is practicing, but then performing, seeing how that works, and it's not the same for every kid. Some kids want to do solos, other kids just feel very comfortable not doing solos.
So it's just finding that magic touch. That
I guess that's not a great answer. That's probably like the answer to anything. How do you do anything with kids?
But I do think, though, there is some validity in saying that. I don't think you necessarily have to follow a structured way of doing things, you know, and you know, just because it was done that way in the past doesn't necessarily mean, you know, if you got a kid with talent, maybe you find somebody who knows how to massage that talent rather than just a very structured way. You know? Which I think is interesting, because as technology and research comes about, you know, we all learn differently, you know. Some people learn from video, and some from audio, and some from reading, and that kind of thing. Well, but anyway, I won't get off on that. But I do want you to do your song full of rhymes here, and I'm going to probably have you just go ahead and play us out towards the end of the show here in just a moment. So in about 60 seconds or so, tell everyone kind of where they can find you, what you're doing, what's coming up in the future.
SteveSongs.com has all the information about the show. I still do a number of live shows a year all across the country. We'll be in Hawaii and California and Florida and in Orlando, Pensacola as well. But that'll be I loved playing in Pensacola.
It's a great place.
And all that information is on the website, the calendar. We put new videos on there as well when they become available.
Awesome. Okay, very good. Well, I'm going to get you to get your guitar. I want to tell everybody here just a couple of final things. You can keep up with Mr. Steve, as he said, at stevesongs.com, and also pbskids.org. You can also find more of our conversations online at wsre.org/conversations. We're also on Facebook and YouTube. We greatly appreciate you watching the program. I'm Jeff Weeks. I certainly hope you enjoyed the broadcast, and we're going to close things out here from the PBS Kids morning programs, Mr. Steve, and the name of the song is Song Full of Rhymes. Here is Mr. Steve. Take it away.
I'm gonna make a song full of rhymes so I can sing it for you. A song full of rhymes, yeah, that's what I'm gonna attempt right now, but I can't find my rhyming dictionary. Here's a thesaurus instead. This is gonna take all the brain power that's inside my cranium, noodle, noggin. This thesaurus is not helping at all. I'll play the song for my uncle, my best songwriting kin. He'll come over to my place with his guitar and viola. He'll say, "You better get a rhyme." He can be a bit intense. A song without a rhyme? That's not gonna make any money, son. Nobody's gonna wanna buy a song without a rhyme. That's ridiculous. I'll try this, I'll try that until I find a way. I'll work every single night and definitely some afternoons. Whatever it takes and wherever I go, till I fill up a song with every rhyme that I need. I'll play the song for my son. I like to know what he thinks. I can just hear him now saying, "Hey, this song starts out okay, but then it gets confusing. Why don't you try a limerick?" There's lots of rhymes in those. Great idea. Sons are the smartest. That's just how it seems to them most of the time. Limerick, let's see. It's hard to do a limerick without a rhyme. There was a big man from Connecticut whose car was so small he couldn't get in the seat comfortably. He was giant, of course. He was bigger than a whole bunch of ponies. But he cannot drive in Constitution states. Oh, I'll try this, I'll try that, until I find a way. I'll work every single night and definitely some afternoons. Whatever it takes and wherever I go, till I fill up a song with every rhyme that I... Next verse coming up right here. Well, I've made it this far, I still don't have a rhyme. I've rhymed lots of songs before, I just can't seem to do it. This type of thing is not easy, but my resolve is strong. Maybe it'll help if you all sing aloud together. La la la, do 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 do. I can't find a rhyme, but then again, neither can yogurt. Har har har, hee 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 hee. If you like to laugh, then just listen to my joke.
Support for this program is provided in part by Gulf Power, a Southern company, and by viewers like you. Thank you.